I'm Dr. Raju, working as a professor and head in the Department of Management Sciences, Maharaja Institute of Technology, Mysore. And for this semester, I'm going to teach business statistics. And before we move on with the subject, let us get to know how the subject has been framed for this semester from the VTU. Okay, your business statistics comprises 6 modules. Comprises 6 modules. In that, the first module is your introduction to statistics. Introduction to statistics. In this module, we are going to see the fundamentals of statistics, like its definition, its application, and basic terminologies to understand about the data, how the data has been taken, and how to see the data, like the measure of central tendency, like the measure of variability, and the measure of shapes. And in the second module, we are going to discuss about the correlation and regression. So, in this module, we are going to see the association relationship between the variables, and in the regression part, we are going to see how the independent variable influence the dependent variable. For example, the expenditure on the advertisement and the sales, how both are related, for example. So, that thing we are discussing in this second module. In the third module, we are going to study probability. It is very important when we are making the decision under uncertainty. Most of the decision we make in the business environment has got the uncertainty. Under this uncertainty, how confidently we can make decisions. And this probability talks about the likelihood of what is happening if we make this decision. So, that we are studying in probability. And the fourth module is about time series analysis. Time series analysis. In this time series analysis, we are studying about the data which we collect over a period of time. For example, the stock market analysis. We collect the stock price for over a period of 52 weeks and then analyze in such a way that how the stock price has been moving, behaved across 52 weeks, and we can make some predictions about for the future investment. That is one of the reasons we study the time series analysis. And the fifth module is about hypothesis. And basically, it's about the hunch or idea or the feeling of the business researcher, and how we are going to test this hunch or test this idea, how we are going to test it so that we can decide to accept or to reject this idea. So, this we will study in this fifth module, and the sixth module is about MS Excel. So, what we studied during this fifth module. So, in this module, we are going to use this MS Excel to solve all these problems of statistics using this MS Excel. Okay. So, what we can do is, as soon as we complete one concept in each of the module, I am going to teach you how to use the Excel to solve the same problem, because when I am talking about this, the introduction to statistics and then solving some of the problems, you are very fresh in your mind how to solve the problems, and immediately we can take the Excel sheet and learn how to solve those problems using this Excel sheet. Okay. This is how the subject has been framed for this semester, and this is how we are going to follow it for this semester. Okay. Let us start with the first module, introduction to statistics. Almost every area of business uses statistics in decision making. So, most of these decisions are made with the assistance of information gathered about the marketplace or the workplace or the competition or the economic and financial environment and other factors. Such information usually comes in the form of data. So, business statistics, where we can use this business statistics is business statistics provide tools and techniques through which such data are collected, analyzed, interpreted, summarized and presented to facilitate the decision making process. Okay. That is why we have to study business statistics in first semester. Okay. We are studying business statistics in first semester. What happens? Every area business makes decision. Okay. So, this decision comes from information gathered from either competition or the companies or the economic and then business situations, workplace and about. And this statistics, we use this statistics, stats to collect data. So, this information is in the form of data and to collect data, analyze, interpret, summarize and present data. This is why this is how the business statistics is, and then we have to study this. Okay. And in general, let us see the statistics in the layman's language. In general, the numerical facts are called statistics. Okay. So, in this usage, the term statistics refer to numerical facts such as averages, medians, percentages and percentiles that helps to understand a variety of business and economic situations. These percentage and percentages we use many times in our day to day life. So, and naturally we are using some statistical term to describe something in the real life scenario. Okay. However, the statistics involves much more than numerical facts. That is why in a broader sense, statistics is the art and science of collecting, analyzing, interpreting and summarizing and presenting data. Okay. And in particular, in business and economic situation, the information provided by collecting, analyzing, presenting and interpreting data gives managers and then decision makers a better understanding of business and economic situations and thus enables them to make more informed decision making. To understand business and economic situation and to make more informed and better decision. Okay. We got the idea why we have to study statistics and the basic definition of statistics. Okay. And the study of statistics can be categorized into two branches. Okay. This is the descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Statistics can be descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. In order to understand the difference between descriptive statistics and inferential statistics, we need to understand some terms, some statistical terms. It is very, very important. And the first thing is population and sample. Let us see what exactly this population. Population can be defined as a collection of persons, objects or items of interest. The population can be a widely defined category such as all automobiles or all cars, or it can be narrowly defined such as all Toyota Innova cars produced from 2004 to 2006. A population can be a group of people such as all professors presently employed in Maharaja Institute of Technology, Mysore, or it can be a set of objects such as all washing machines produced on November 14, 2017 by the Bosch company at the Chennai plant. So that is why the researcher, business researchers defines the population to be whatever he is or he or she is studying. When researchers gather data from the whole population for a given measurement of interest, when we collect data from the whole population, we call that as a census. Another term is associated with population is census. When we gather data from the whole population, we call that as a census. So anyhow, we are familiar with the census in India. Every 10 years, the government of India attempts to measure all persons living in this country. Okay? So that is called the census. But in business, many situations require information about a large group of elements. It may be the information about the customers or products or households or individuals or companies. But do you think that we can take the entire population and then get the data? No, because of the time and cost and other consideration, data cannot be collected from the whole lot of population, but we can only be collected from a small portion of the group. That is why the researchers very often prefer to work with a sample of the population instead of the entire population. Okay? The sample is a portion of the whole population. Here, the sample is a portion of this population. Okay? We cannot gather data from the population because of the time and cost and plus other considerations. That is why we prefer to work with sample, which is the portion of this population. So when we say the portion of the population, how it should look like? It should, the characteristics of the portion look like a population, right? If the sample is properly taken, it is the representative of the population. You got the idea? So because of the time and cost and other factors, we cannot collect data from the whole population. That is why the researchers or managers gather data from the small portion, which is a representative factor of the population, and try to analyze the situation. The smaller group is called population. For example, so in conducting quality control experiment to determine the average life of the light bulb. So what happens? Do you think the light bulb manufacturer will collect all the bulbs and then do that one? No, he will collect randomly a sample of 75 to 100 bulbs during the production run and test the lifetime and then infer the same thing on the whole lot of the bulb that he has produced. Okay? That is why the larger group of elements in a particular study is called the population and the smaller group is called sample. Let us come to the descriptive statistics. So what do you mean by descriptive statistics? The term descriptive means it describes something about the situation for the better understanding, right? Okay. That is why most of the statistical information in newspapers, magazines, company report and other publication consist of data that summarized and presented in a forum that is easy for the reader to understand. Such summaries of data, which may be tabular or graphical or numerical, are referred to as descriptive data. Many of the statistical data gathered by business are descriptive in nature. So, this is the tabular data may be descriptive, describes something. Describes something in the form of tables, descriptive in the form of tables, graphs and numbers. So, normally you can see all these reports, business reports, and you can get what is the descriptive, that is whatever you can get from the report is a descriptive statistics. Another type of statistics is called inferential statistics. If the researchers gather data from a sample, because he cannot gather data from the whole lot of population because of the time and cost constraints, he gathers data from the samples and uses the statistics generated from the sample to reach conclusion about the population from which the data was taken. That statistics are inferential statistics. Okay? Takes the sample, measures the statistics and does the measurements and infer about the population. That is called inferential statistics. Derive some meaning from the data and then using the same information to infer something about the larger group. This test and the same thing will be inferred on the larger group. That is the inferential statistics. Sometimes inferential statistics is referred to as inductive statistics. The statistics that uses data from the sample. So, why are we using data from the sample? To make some estimates or to test some hypothesis. These hypothesis you are going to study in the 5th module. Let us discuss more about this. And to test the hypothesis about the characteristics of a population through a process is referred to as inferential statistics. The data gathered from sample are used to infer something about the larger group. So, now for example, the pharmaceutical research. Now, this situation they are manufacturing the COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, right? This is expensive to produce. Therefore, researcher will design an experiment with a small randomly selected samples of patient and then administer the vaccine and attempt to reach the conclusion and make inferences about the population, means the inference about the entire lot. That is what now some trials are running. The first phase trial is over and the second phase trial has begun. These are all the things we are get to know from the media is about inferring how the vaccine is doing for the COVID patient and how effective it is. Okay, that is why in the pharmaceutical research we use that one. And then in the marketing research, use inferential statistics to study the impact of advertisement and various market segments. Okay, because when the advertisement it invests lot of money, and when they invest lot of money and then make advertisement, they have to assess whether they are getting the returns of the sales, that much sales, generating that much sales through these advertisements, right. So, that is why the marketing researchers are using inferential statistics to study the impact on various marketing impact on various segments. Here what happens, the advantage of using the inferential statistics is that they enable the researchers to study effectively wide range of phenomena. By taking the sample, wide range of phenomena. Wide range of phenomena we can study without having to conduct the census. Okay. So, that is about the descriptive and inferential statistics. Descriptive, whatever we can see in the newspapers, magazine and some business reports describe something, that is the descriptive statistics. Inferential statistics means take the sample from the larger population, you generate some statistics and then from there infer something on the characteristics of the larger group, that is the inferential statistics. So, other two parameters you should know is parametric and then statistic. Okay, parametric and then statistics. A descriptive measure of a population is called parameter. This is parameter. Descriptive measure of population is called parameter. Okay. Parameters are usually denoted by Greek letters. Okay. For example, population mean, it is mu, and the population variance sigma square, like this. Okay. Our population standard deviation is sigma. Okay. And a descriptive measure of a sample is called a statistic. Descriptive measure of a sample. This is with respect to population and this is with respect to sample. Okay. For example, sample mean, it is denoted by x bar, and the sample variance, it is denoted by s square. Our sample standard deviation is denoted by S. The differentiation between the term parameter and statistics is important only in inferential statistics. Okay. A business researcher often wants to estimate the value of a parameter or conduct test about the parameter. Okay. However, the calculation of parameters is usually impossible or infeasible because of the amount of time and money required to take a census, required to take the huge task. Census means we have to collect or gather information from the whole lot of population. It is impossible. It is infeasible. It requires lot of time and money. That is why Government of India conduct census once in 10 years, because it is not easy to do it for every year. Okay. In such cases, the business researchers can take a random sample of the population, calculate, that is random sample of the population, calculate the statistics on the sample and infer by estimation the value of the parameter, and infer the estimation by using the value of the parameter, by using the for the estimation the value of the parameter. Okay. So, next is here, whenever we do all these estimation, it is not perfect, 100% it is not perfect. The basis of inferential statistics is then the ability to make decision or estimate accurately about the parameter without having the complete census of the population. Okay. Inferences about parameters are always made under uncertainty. Unless the parameters are computed directly from the population, the statistician never knows the certainly whether the estimates or the inferences made from the samples are true, because it is always, the estimation is always done in the absence of the whole lot of data. We have taken the small sample. If the samples are properly taken, it is a representative factors, we understand, but still the estimates are made under uncertainty. It is not always sure. In an effort to estimate the level of confidence in the result of the process, statisticians uses the probability, that is why uses the probability. estimation, use the probability, and that is why it is very important to study the probability also. That is also a part of your syllabus, and we will discuss more about the probability also when it comes. Okay. So, that is all about the initial definition and some of the associated terminologies to understand the statistics. These terminologies we call as the language of statistics, and one should be knowing that one. Okay. So, let us know something about this data measurements. It is very important because we need to collect data from the population. We need to, that is basically we need to collect data from the sample and use statistics to infer something about the population, and why data measurement is important. So, in statistics, data are facts and figures collected, analyzed and summarized for presentation and interpretation. Okay. All the data collected in a particular study are referred to as data set. All the data we collected is a data set. Millions of numerical data are gathered in business every day. Lots of data. That is why we call these days a big data. Okay. All these data should not be analyzed the same way statistically, because the entities represented by the numbers are different. All this data, what happens, the entities are represented numbers are different with the data. For example, the first rank, second rank is there. For example, your PAN card is there, Aadhaar number is there. So, when we say all these things, these are all comes under some how we can measure, how we can recognize it. For this reason, business researchers needs to know the level of data measurement represented by the number being analyzed. What kind of numbers or data we are analyzed. So, that is very important. That is why we need to know the level of measurements. The appropriateness of any data analysis depends on the level of measurements. Okay? Measurements of the data gathered. The phenomenon or entities represented by the numbers determines these numbers determines what kind of data, what is the level of data measurement it is. Okay? Data collection requires one of the following levels of data measurement. There are 4 basic categories. Basic measurements. One is the nominal, ordinal, interval and then ratio. Let us see what is this nominal level of measurement. Nominal scales represents the most elementary level of measurement. This is the most elementary level of measurement. Nominal scale assigns a value to an object for identification and classification purposes only. This is classification and identification purpose only. So, no quantities are being represented. It is identification purpose. It is not the quantity. For example, Aadhaar number, PAN number, telephone number, employee ID numbers or the PIN numbers or zip code for the postal zip code. So, do you think that is we can quantify using this number? No. Aadhaar number, it identifies you, your Aadhaar number. Okay. The telephone number, it is yours, because when we want to call person X, we need to identify with the telephone number. Likewise, this nominal data we use for the classification and identification person. And some other types of variables often produce a nominal level of data is the religion, the sex, the ethnicity, the geographic location and the place of birth. These are all the names given, nominal, the names given to identify or classify. Okay. And the next data is the ordinal. The ordinal scales include the characteristics of the nominal scale, and in addition they can be used to rank or order the objects. The first, the nominal scale, is used to classify or identify the object. Here rank or order the objects. That is why the rank means ordinal, the order the object. For example, a supervisor can evaluate 3 employees by ranking their productivity, their performance with the numbers 1, 2, 3. Okay? The supervisor can identify with using the number 1, 2, 3, saying the one employee is most productive, his performance is good. The another employee is least productive, that is why his performance is bad, that is number 3. And as one somewhere between 2 and 3. Okay? He can, so most productive, the least productive, and somewhere between the 1 and 3 is the 2. But however, the supervisor could not say the differences in the amount of productivity between the employees ranked 1 and 2 and between the employees ranked 2 and 3 are equal. Here the ranking can be done 1 first rank, second rank, and third place means third. So it is the most productive, least productive, and somewhere between the most and the least productive. But the supervisor can order them based on the information he gathered from the assembly or the operations. But he cannot say the productivity between 1 and 2 and the productivity between 2 and 3 are equal. Somewhere he is organizing based on his feeling. In other words, supervisor could not use ordinal data to establish that the intervals between 1 and 2, rank 1 and 3, and the intervals between rank 2 and 3 are equal. He cannot do that one. With ordinal data, the distance or spacing represented by consecutive numbers are not always equal. For example, Likert scales are considered to be the nominal. For example, you have a computer class, right? And we can, when we are taking the feedback from you, probably we can use this Likert scale. Likert scale, saying that one is a not helpful, that is 1, and somewhat helpful, that is 2, and moderately helpful, that is 3, and very helpful, that is 4, and then extremely helpful. This is the 5-point Likert scale, and then we can ask you to mark on this one, and you are giving you are based on your feeling, based on your perception of using the computer class or computer tutorial, you can give the feedback. Probably you can have this kind of you might have this experience of taking this in the restaurant about your experience after your dinner. So that is how they are collecting data about your perception and then feeling. So the distance between 1 and 2 is not equal to distance between 2 and 3 like this. It is not always true. Okay. So this ordinal factor, nominal and ordinal data are often derived from imprecise measurements. It's based on your perception, such as the demographic questions, the categorization of the people or objects, or ranking of items. Okay. Nominal and ordinal data are non-metric, means it is non-metric. These two are non-metric. That is why we refer to this as qualitative data. Qualitative data. Okay. And the next scale is interval scale. Let us see what exactly this interval scale. This interval scale, this is exactly the hierarchy of the data measurement. Okay. This interval scale have all the properties of this nominal and ordinal data. See, this ordinal data has got the property of nominal data, and this interval data has got the property of nominal and ordinal data, plus one additional strength is there. What is that additional strength? It is they incorporate the concept of equality of interval. So, where in the ordinal we do not have the equality of interval, and this characteristics is available in this interval scale. This is interval data, that is interval data have got equal intervals. Interval data have got equal intervals. Equal intervals. For example, the time elapsed between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. equals the time elapsed between 4 a.m. and then 7 a.m. Okay, interval data is always numeric because it has got the equal spacing. However, we can't say 3 a.m. is twice as late as 6 a.m. is twice as late as 3 a.m. because the 0 time is an arbitrary 0 point that is not fixed, that we can fix. However, it is our convenient to measure that one. You cannot say 6 o'clock is twice late as 3 o'clock, even though it is a measurement, because there is no origin or the fixed 0 time. Okay, the absence of absolute 0 is here. Okay. So, another example for this one is a centigrade and then Fahrenheit temperature scales. Okay, centigrade scale and the Fahrenheit scales. Okay. So, let us say June 6th was 80 degree Fahrenheit. June 6 is 80 degree Fahrenheit, and December 7 was 40 degree Fahrenheit, and December 7 was 40 degree Fahrenheit, because June is summer, that is why the temperature is more, and the December is a winter, that is why temperature is good. If you take this information, this we know that one December 7 was 40 degree Fahrenheit, it is colder than this. This is colder than this, that's all we know. Okay, but we cannot conclude that the December 7 was twice as cold as June 6. This is because there is no naturally occurring 0 point in the temperature, because so this naturally occurring 0 means 0 degree Fahrenheit does not mean the absence of heat or cold. There is some temperature, there is a level of cold. It does not mean the absence. Does not mean the absence of heat or cold. Okay. So, that is why it does not exactly represent some phenomena. Since the temperature scales are interval, the gap between the numbers on the same temperature scales remains the constant. So, because of that, the interval scale, the gap between the consecutive numbers are same. This allows us to convert one scale to another scale. Let us convert this the Fahrenheit into degree Celsius. Okay. So, how do we convert? Let us convert this June 6, 80 degree Fahrenheit means 32 into 8 minus 32 and 5 by 9 into 5 by 9. Okay, this is the formula. Okay, because this is 80 degree. So, how much it is? 26.67 degree. This is 26.67 degrees Celsius. Okay. Let us see in the December what happens. Okay. This is for 32 into 40 degree Fahrenheit minus 32 into 5 by 9. How much? It is 4.4 degree centigrade. 4.4 degree centigrade. Now, so looking at this one, now can you tell me this one 4.4 degree Celsius and then 2.67 Celsius is twice or thrice? We cannot infer, because we don't have the fixed 0. Here the 0 means is arbitrary. Okay, here the 0 point is a matter of convention or convenience and not the natural or fixed 0 point. 0 is just another point on the scale and does not mean the absence of the phenomena. It will never ever say 0 means the absence of the phenomena. Okay, and the last one, the highest scale, is the ratio scale. Ratio scale represents the highest form of measurement and they have all the properties of interval scales plus another strength. Can you guess? The strength which is not there in the interval scale, that is the natural 0, the absolute 0 is not there in the interval scale, and this ratio scale has got the absolute 0 or origin or fixed 0. Fixed 0 is there. See the hierarchy. This has got all the properties nominal, ordinal and interval data. Okay, plus one strength which is not there in the interval, that is absolute 0. Fixed 0 is not there. Here the fixed 0 is there. Interval scales possesses only relative meaning. When there is no fixed 0, so only you can say relatively compared to 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Relatively we can say, but absolutely we can't say. Whereas the ratio scale represents the absolute meaning. In other words, 0 has a meaning. And 0 has a meaning in the ratio scale where 0 doesn't have an absence of the concept there. Okay? Here the 0 is the absence of concept in the ratio scale. For example, height. 0 height means no height. Weight, 0 weight means no weight. Volume, 0 volume means no volume. This absence of phenomena is there. But the temperature, if I say 0 temperature, you cannot say there is no temperature. Okay? For example, consider the cost of an automobile. Consider the cost of a car. 0 value of the cost means it would indicate the this car is no value, means it's absolutely free, right? So, in addition to this, let us compare the car 1, it will cost around 50,000 rupees, okay? And then the car 2, it cost around 25,000 rupees, for example. It's an hypothetical symbol, okay? So, then if you take the ratio of this one, 25,000, we could say the car 1 is twice the cost of the car 2, okay? The value of 0 can't be arbitrarily assigned because it represents the fixed point. So, this definition enables the statistician to create ratios with the data, okay? Interval and ratio data are metric data, that is why we use the numbers here, okay? This is, we use metric data, that is why we call that as the quantitative data. Quantitative data. These two are qualitative data, this is quantitative data, okay? Got the idea? And the next thing is statistical technique can be separated, okay, into two categories because of this the variations in the data measurements and the quantitative and the qualitative separation of these things. In the statistical techniques are two categories. One is the parametric statistics, another one is non-parametric statistics. One is the parametric, another one is non-parametrics. Parametric statistics requires the data be interval or ratio, because parametrics we need quantitative data, and the non-parametric requires nominal or ordinal, that is the qualitative data. That is the qualitative data. And the non-parametric statistics can also be used to analyze the interval and ratio scale. Okay, got the idea about the data measurements, basics level of the measurements, and how this nominal, ordinal, interval, and then ratio scales are different, and how the entities represented by the numbers are being helpful to analyze this.